All right, guys. So the last video we had, my friend John was here.
Yeah.
And he did chili, and we're pretty excited about that chili. You just had some.
Yeah. John's a good guy, and he makes great chili.
Great chili. So now, so Kevin's like, yeah, you should jar that up because you got a lot of it, and that'll last you. How long will it last?
Years. I routinely put back chili that we just don't get to. We keep it up above our cabinets.
Right.
And it might be there 4 or 5 years.
I've never, my leftovers last 4 days and then they go bad in the fridge. I didn't know you could jar them. And I'm like, dude, I can jar my chili and it'll last more than 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And then you brought some stuff too.
I actually did. I brought some of my favorite soups. I think it's a waste of time to cook all day long. I want to get the most out of it that I can. So what I do is I make 5 gallons of soup at a time, and I can 2 or 3 gallons of it and put it away. Well, the best part is I'm going to heat up my kitchen while I'm cooking this.
Right.
And then my house is warm, and my heating bill isn't as much
in the winter.
In the wintertime, and then I can take my soup in July, pull it down off the top of the shelf, and pop it in the microwave.
Never have I ever done this.
And I don't heat up my house, but I get a really cool can of yummy comfort food. Let me show you what I brought to share with you today, Jack. I just went above the cabinet and pulled out some different things that I like. This is cream of potato soup that I made a couple months ago, but this one actually is my favorite. This is some dill pickles that I made at the beginning of last year. These are pickled peppers, and we made those 10 of 2013, and this one is kind of the dare. This is baked potato soup that we made in February of 2012. So this one is actually 4 years old.
That's great.
This is a jar grabber, and it turns out this is the most handy thing you'll use when you're canning. You're going to have to reach into boiling water occasionally, and you just slide this over your jar, and then you can lift it right up out of the boiling water without melting your skin off. This is actually used for getting air bubbles out, and we want to get all the air bubbles out of what we're doing because air bubbles have contaminations in them. And so when we get the air out before we put the lids on and put them in the processor, it makes it pure and it makes it last a lot longer. This right here is kind of a neat tool. It's just a magnet on a stick, but we keep our lids in water, in very hot water, to keep them sanitized and pure. And then we just reach in and grab a lid with our stick. This is a button that goes on top of our canner, and you're going to see this jiggling around later. And the different weights determine how much pressure is in the pot, because the heavier this button is, the more steam, the more pressure it takes to blow this thing up and force the steam to come out. So this is about a 7-pound button, and it keeps us at about 20 pounds of pressure. This right here is just your general grabber. And sometimes the jar will fall over sideways, and you kind of have to get in there and pull it back out. And this tool, I don't use that often. I just burn my hands, honestly. It's for putting the lids on your hot jars. But when you start canning, you have to start with sterilized jars. And the best way to sterilize jars is just to boil them in water for 5 minutes. So here's what we're doing right now is just sanitizing the jars. Basically, we filled this pot with water, put the jars in it, and brought the water up to just under boiling. You want to get it up to about 185. Now, it turns out that 185 is when bubbles start coming off the bottom of the pot. 160 bubbles start appearing, and 185 bubbles come off the bottom. So you can always tell when you get your pot up to the right temperature, because you'll start seeing those bubbles leaving the bottom. You know, I love efficiencies. I love synergy wherever I can get it, right? So we're actually going to take this water that we just sanitize these jars with and use it 2 or 3 times before we get rid of it. But now I'm actually going to take our jar lifter and start pulling them out. Now you got to be kind of careful when you take them out, so that you don't burn yourself. Okay, now when I put them down, these jars are very hot. They're 185, 180, 185. You can't put them on something cold because they'll break. So I'm putting them on something insulated, like a piece of wood, or a lot of people put down a towel. Okay, now that we've got all the jars out of this pot, I'm just going to take a random saucepan and dip into that water and get probably an inch and a half of that, and then take all of our jar lids and dunk them right in there. And those will sterilize over the next 4 to 5 minutes. So what we're going to do with this water is actually come over here to our pressure cooker, and we're going to put about 2 inches of water, an inch to 2 inches of water in the bottom of our pressure cooker. Now, you might be wondering why in the world I'm using a pressure cooker to can. Well, Jack likes to do lazy man recipes, and that's why he and I are such good friends, because so do I. The truth of the matter is there's 3 or 4 different ways that you can something, but this is the one method that always works. We don't have to worry about high acid or low acid. We don't have to worry about, any of that. What kind of vegetables? Does it have meat? We're just going to can this in a pressure cooker. We're going to process it for an hour, and at the end of that, no matter what you're making, it's going to be sterilized, it's going to be preserved, and that's why we're doing it this way in a pressure cooker. Okay, so now that we've got the jars out of the sterilizing pot, we're just going to fill them. So we just kind of hold the jar over the pot and fill it up. If you fill it too full, you're not going to get a really good vacuum seal. But if you don't fill it enough, you'll get too much of a seal, and sometimes the lid will suck in. So there's actually a ring on every jar, and you want to fill these jars to that first ring right there. All right, now the only thing left to do is just to put the lids on, and that's where this cool tool comes in, because we've had our lids soaking in this boiling hot water. Okay, technically it's not boiling, and you don't want to boil it because these lids have these sealant rings on them, and you don't want to boil them because if you do, they start to loosen up and they don't work as well. So we use that water that we used previously, and it's only about 185, and it doesn't mess up our rings. So we're going to use our special magnet tool to actually pick them up out of the hot water and put them right on top of our jars. Now, these are sterilized, sanitized, and we're going to put them on top, but these rings don't have to be sanitized. And the reason is they don't come in contact with any food at all. You can sanitize them if you want, but it just, they're wet and it becomes a mess. So we're just going to take the rings and put them on hand tight, like, just an eighth a turn, I guess. After they stop turning, just like that. And the reason is you want to tighten enough so that it seals when we're finished, but you want it loose enough so that the air that's trying to escape, as the air is heating up and expanding, you want that air to be able to escape so it doesn't turn into a bomb. Okay, so that's it. That's canning your leftovers. It's ridiculously simple. Heat your house. And the best part about this is that it increases the humidity in your house. And that's absolutely critical because modern HVAC systems lower the humidity in your house, and the heat is transmitted to us through humidity. So if we can get the humidity up or above 60%, then we actually feel warmer. So that's just another added benefit of doing this in the wintertime. There's nothing else to do but put the lid on, but I want to make sure you know that you have to put water in here. We'll put an inch or two of water in the bottom of it, and after all your cans go in, your water will be up about halfway up the cans. The only thing left to do now is wait for it to start rattling. When our button starts rattling, it has to long. and in the morning, you have fully cooked, fully prepared, fully preserved chili that'll last you 3 to 10 years.
All right, you guys ready? We're gonna try this old food. I don't mean, there's no other way to say it. It's 2,
old.
3, and 4 years old. We're gonna try it all, and I'll let you know what it tastes like. All right, so I'm gonna try let me get my other spoon. That was just for mixing. I'm gonna try this. Which one's this again?
Okay, this is 4-year-old baked potato soup.
4-year-old.
4 years old soup.
By the way, when I was warming it up, I said it tasted, it smelled good. I hadn't tried it yet.
I don't know what it's going to taste like. It's been sitting on top of my cabinet since 2012.
It's good.
Yeah?
Yeah. It has a beefy barley taste, dude.
Really?
Yeah, it really, even though there's ham in it, almost has a beef flavor to it, doesn't it?
It's changed over the years. It tastes more like beef. Okay, so we've come up to pressure. Our button is really boiling. And so we brought it up to pressure with our flame on the stove turned all the way up to high. But now that we've gotten where we want it to be, we can actually turn the heat down underneath this pot just so that this button is just rattling calmly. You know, it's kind of hyperactive right now.
Okay, so also if you don't want to go by the rocker, you can go by the pressure and keeping the needle somewhere between 10 and 15.
Right.
And if it's still above 15, keep lowering a little at a time until you get in the sweet zone, right?
Yeah, somewhere 13, 14 pounds right in there is probably your sweet spot.
Remember, when you let this cool, I'm just really nervous that you guys are going to do this wrong. Let it completely cool even before you take this piece off. Don't touch any of this until it's all the way down to 0. And, I need a towel. They're all sunk in. You can see the lids are pushed in. Let me grab my towel. Now go through and tighten all your lids. Make sure they're all, the perimeters are tight. And there you go. There it is, all jarred up. So we're going to try this in about a year when I do my Food Jack Awards for 2016. We're going to crack one of these open and try it and see how $100 chili tastes in a year. Take care. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.